freed 6,000 beds for the next few weeks. We are also one of the first place in North America to close non-essential businesses. We are also one of the places that test the most in the world. And we're working very hard to continue having medical supplies we need.
Quebec Premier François Legault on another daily press conferences talking about shortages, but he also did something else today. A barrier between the Ontario-Quebec border. There was a backup of cars on either side of the Quebec-Ontario border today, not far from this window behind me, right between Ottawa and Gatineau, which is right there, as the Quebec government moves to restrict more non-essential border crossings into their province. Now, police checkpoints have been set up in a few areas. Look at these pictures along the Outaouais to screen motorists as they drive by. Is it going too far? And you heard the Premier, is Quebec facing a real medical equipment shortage? Here to discuss that and other issues, former NDP leader, now CTV commentator Tom Mulcair. He joins us from his residence via Skype. Tom, I hope you and your family are healthy and staying well in the middle of this crisis. An aggressive approach today from Premier Legault, those checkpoints between the border, is that going too far?
Well, it started a week ago. Exactly last Wednesday, New Brunswick started shutting down the border between it and Quebec. Quebec shut down its side of that border on Saturday. So what's been happening mostly in cottage country, because the areas being talked about today are the hills outside of Gatineau, the Laurentian Mountains that have access through places like Lachute, because the Hawkesbury, Grenville, Lachute big bridge there as well into Quebec, that was also being policed by the Sûreté, the Quebec Provincial Police today. So I think they're just trying to make sure that people stop what has been going on, which is going back and forth between cottages and the big cities.
Yeah, it's scary to see this, police stopping people. People are showing ID. The city of Ottawa and the Ottawa police said they were not even informed about the move. Ottawa's not going to put down their personnel on the Ontario side. But I guess my question, does this have a potential to escalate and we will experience more interprovincial travel restrictions?
One of the biggest challenges since the beginning, and you've noted it as well, is the patchwork quilt of solutions across the country. I mean, this is supposed to be a federation where there are a certain number of things that get done from the center, and we dictate what the rules are going out. And so to have provinces taking it upon themselves to do this simply begs the question, who's leading in this crisis? Sometimes very good decisions are taken in one province, that becomes the best practice and it gets imitated. But nobody's requiring it. Today, Quebec said about 10 days after BC that it would start restricting people working in more than one senior's residence. Evan, we've got people who've been working in a lot of temp agencies. BC put a stop to it. Their problem was based on privatization. A lot of people were in the gig economy. They were working in several centers. That increased the risk. Those are easy best practices. They're not being imposed. It's catch as catch can. That's the problem that we've got right now in Canada. There's no central authority saying, okay, this is what we have to do to protect seniors' residents, for example.
Yeah, you mentioned senior residents and long-term residences. You've heard about the absolutely horrific tragedy that's going on at a long-term residence in Ontario near Bobcaygeon, where way too many people not only have COVID-19 but have died from it.
Yes.
Quebec,
Terrible.
The numbers are also really serious. It's like those are hot zones. What's going on in Quebec there?
Well, it's the same thing. These are the most vulnerable people, and that's why they had to be protected. So the government did take one very tough early decision, which is to ban all visits. So people like me and my family, my mom is in a residence in the Laurentians, and we can talk to her on the phone. We've got one guardian angel who works there who will FaceTime us in, but there's no way to talk to her. Other than that, we can't go hold her in our arms. Everybody's frustrated with that, but that's protecting them. But in the meantime, temp agencies were sending in people who were covering any number of residences in a week, so it made no sense. So they're finally getting that figured out, but there was a best practice laid down in BC that should have been generalized immediately.
Yeah, my wife's a dear friend of my wife, just lost her mother, and actually she was in a long-term care facility, but they were FaceTiming right up to the end. That's the best you can do right now. Tom Mulcair, I hope you and your family are okay. I know we'll have many more conversations in the fraught days to come.